Hello. You had a question on this problem, and when you're using the calculator, I think it works out easiest. Uh, I think you got the first question right. That's just the mean and the standard deviation. But when you're solving these using the calculator, and I wrote this calculator in case you don't have one, you can use this one online. It has a free trial for 90 days. So the first question, between 126 and 128 seconds to find the percent, when you use the calculator, let me clear this, you want to go into distributions. So it's second in variables because that's where the distribution is. And then we want cumulative, so we want the second one. So you go down to the second one and hit enter. And then this version tells you pretty much how to put things in. Now this negative one, this is just if you were finding it from below something, you have to have a lower value, and so you just use a very small number. You could even put negative 99999. But we're going between two values, and our two values are 126.35, and the upper was 128.11. The mean 129.38, and standard deviation a quarter. When you hit enter, and it shows the statement. Now, if you have an older calculator, you'll have to enter this without them letting you know what order. So this helps also. But when you hit enter, the percent is 0.197 or 19.7. So that's what you would use when you're given the values. But when you're given the percent as you're given in C, let me clear the screen. You still go in distribution, but you use the third one, inverse norm, because you're doing the inverse. You have the percentage. So we use this one. The area is your percent, and this always tells you below, how many are below that percent. And so under 4%, we put 0.04. And our mean was 129.38 with a standard deviation of 2.25. Hit enter. The value was 125.44. For D, you do each one separately. And so we go second and distribution. But what you have to think about in this one, because we are going to still use the inverse, the area is not 40%, because remember, this tells you how many are below the value. And so if we think of it, when you have your curve, there's, now in the middle is your 40%. You have to remember, this is normal, so it's uniform. If the middle is 40%, the outside two are 60%. Split that in half, that means there's 30 here and 30 here. Oops. And so to find this value, you would use 30% because that's the amount below it. And then to find this value, the percent below it is 70%. So you're using the percentile, the percent below it. So that means to find the lower value, we would use 30%. And we have the mean and the standard deviation already there. Hit enter, and you get the 128.2. To find the other value that the 40% is between, that would be this value. Percentile is 70%. 30 plus 40 is 70. So we would use 70. Calculator. So second distribution down to the inverse of the norm and hit enter. And then instead of 30%, we're putting 70. Hit enter one more time. And it's between 128.2 and 130.55 or 56, depending on how far you're going. And so that's how you would use these. If they wanted how many above, I don't know, 60%? Then we would go, because we'd have 40% and then our number. And then here would be our 60. So if we wanted above 60, we wouldn't put 60 in because it always, you're putting in the percent below it. So we would put in 40. So it would be a second distribution. Go down to the inverse norm. And then instead of 70%, we put 40%. So that means there's 128.8 above the 60th percent. If you have any questions, let me know.